Today we have Dillon McDonald here with us from the
on?
Wall team.
Yes,
Welcome,
sir.
Dillon. Thank
Yes,
you for
sir.
coming.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Yeah. Let's just go ahead and start off with it. Tell us about who is Dillon McDonald.
Who is Dillon McDonald? Man, that's a loaded question. Man, I would say first, I'm a husband. I've been married. This will be 14 years of marriage for me.
14 years. Wow.
Married Christina. We knew each other since high school.
Nice.
And I got 3 kids. You know, it's kind of crazy. So I got into real estate 3 months before I got married.
3 months before.
So I was working in Dallas at an engineering company,
Mm-hmm.
and then basically what happened was they were laying off pretty much everybody at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and it was 2009.
Yeah.
So that was right when the market started changing, and I was working for a civil engineering company, and they basically were like, "All right, we're letting everybody go." And I said, "Okay, well, I guess I better figure something out. I'm getting married in July." And so I told my wife, "Hey, I'm getting into real estate."
Yeah.
And she was fully supportive.
Yeah.
And so we've got 3 kids now: Brady, Emma, and Grayson.
Nice.
And they're awesome and such a joy. So
Yeah. So 2009. Take me back. How old were you?
2009, I was 25.
25.
Yeah.
That's kind of right around when I started. So
Yeah.
that's like probably was that. Oh, I started when I was 25, but like so. 2009, you know, they're talking about the crash. This
Yeah.
could be probably, you know, obviously you went to college. You said you had an engineering background.
Yeah.
So how was that? Like, what was the thought process? Like, man, I'm going to go into this field where I'm not guaranteed how much I'm making a month.
Yeah.
How did you know, you're about to get married. How do you convince your wife that, I'm going to go into real estate?
Well, you know what was cool is actually not only did she support me, but her parents supported me too.
Nice.
I was obviously nervous about it because getting into real estate at the time wasn't the choice. Like
Mhm.
the market that we've been in the last, say, 10 years,
Mhm.
if most people, if you say, "Hey, I'm getting into real estate," they're like, "Oh, it's awesome. It's a great market."
Yeah.
At that time, the stock market was at a pretty much a historic low. And I would say she believed in me, even if at the time when I wasn't even 100% sure that I believed in myself.
Mhm.
And that was what was really cool, because she was a teacher. She was teaching in Plano, and she's like, "Hey, I got you." She's like, "We're going to do this together." And we literally lived off of her salary as
Wow.
a teacher living in Dallas for, it took me, I don't know, 7 months to close my first deal.
7 months.
And even that first deal, when it finally closed, I netted a loss my first year in the business.
Wow. So,
So-
I mean, like we were talking about, like real estate market now, if like you said, people are so supportive if you're going into real estate. Like it's
Right.
like people see the closings, people see the success.
Yeah.
But your first transaction took 7 months.
7 months, yeah.
And was it a buyer or a seller?
It was a buyer.
Buyer.
Yeah.
Tell me about the process with that. Like thinking about, like, when I think about back to my first showing and stuff like that and writing my first contract, I remember looking at the contract and being overwhelmed because in real estate school, they don't teach you
No.
how to write a contract.
Nope.
They don't teach you how to market yourself, really. They teach you the laws and, they teach you how many square feet are in an acre.
Yep.
But, it's not really about how to write a contract or how to market yourself. It's really just the laws that
For sure.
you learn. So
Yeah, getting that first deal was very funny because it was a friend of mine that I've known since junior high.
Mhm.
Shout out Adam Langan if you watch this.
Yeah.
And he knew me,
Yeah.
trusted me, knew I had no experience, but was like, "Hey, I know you, the person, and I know you'll figure it out."
Yeah.
And so every step along the way, I had a phenomenal. Every place I've been, I've had a broker or a mentor that has pushed me, even today, just at a different level. But I always have sought out advice, and during that whole transaction, I was probably in my broker's office every day asking questions.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that is really important. And so your first transaction, did you post on, like, at that time, Facebook, or how did you said his name was Adam, right?
Yeah, Adam.
So how did he be like, "Okay, hey Dillon, you're gonna help me buy my first house"? Like how did the connection get made?
Oh man, I don't. To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure. But back then, Facebook in 2009, like, it's not like what it was today.
Yeah.
Social media really wasn't a huge thing.
Yeah.
I did a lot of cold calling. Like,
Cold call.
not that he was a cold call, but I spent a lot of time on the phone,
Yeah.
texting people, calling people, mailing.
Yeah.
I was in a, like I said, I was fortunate to be with a great broker who gave me a lot of structure and was like, "Hey, if you do these things, like, you don't know which one of these will work, but do them all.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, we even went door to door in apartment complexes, my wife and I.
Wow.
She would hit one floor, I would hit the next floor, and I was literally taping my business cards on the doors of apartments near Love Field, right in this like hospital district. And my broker said, hey, do that, because these are people who are medical students, likely who are living there, that are going to make money. They'll eventually be moving out of this apartment and buying.
Yeah.
And that was just, it was during that same time I was doing that is when Adam hit me up and was like, hey, I think we're ready to buy a house.
Yeah. So it's funny because my closing yesterday, I had a closing yesterday. I posted about it. He's a lawyer friend of mine, but you know, he reminded me during his showings, like, hey, you remember I was your first client? And I was just like, man, you really were. And so we've done 5 transactions together ever since.
Congrats.
Yeah.
That's
no,
awesome.
I appreciate it. We've done 5 transactions together, and you know, he's just been upgrading and selling, you know, and all in a span of what, 5 to 6 years. So, and you know, it really, like, I love real estate because I get to stay connected.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I feel like I'm a part of someone's life. You know, they get married, you get to help them buy a house.
Right.
And so my first transaction came about. I went on Facebook, and I guess this was like 2015 or it was late 2016. I posted a status, hey guys, just got my real estate license, shared my headshot, and was like, you know, if anyone's looking to buy or sell, let me know. And so my first transaction ended up closing actually in like 2.5 months, and it was because of Facebook.
Wow.
And the craziest thing is, and this was 2016, so we ended up selling his house, which he had already owned, that he purchased.
Nice.
Which was like a $250,000 transaction, and he ended up buying a $400,000 home. So back in 2016, you know, my first transaction, you know, at Keller Williams Arlington, like, who's this kid that just did a $650,000, you know, first, you know, 2 deals.
That's a nice first deal, by the way.
Yeah, no, it was awesome, and it came from my network. And after that, like, I focused on, like, I'm gonna like really help my friends and family, because this is, first of all, I get to stay connected. It's already people I like.
Yep.
And so that was kind of like my mindset. And, you know, I'm kind of saying all this to lead into, who are you helping? Like, you know, I'm sure your business is really sphere-based, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've helped people, you've helped the parents, you've helped you may be even helping some grandkids now.
Yeah, honestly, there's one family, husband, wife. You were talking about how you've done the transaction with a lawyer. I'm on transaction 11.
Wow.
With one couple. And I have a deal with my clients. If you do 10 transactions with me, I will take you on a vacation anywhere you want to go for 3 nights. Wow. I mean, not anything crazy. We're not going to like Dubai or anything, but like, you know, like I'm talking like Mexico. If you want to go New York, whatever. If you do 10 deals with me, we're going somewhere awesome.
Oh, 100%. And like, that's what I was saying is, like, you know, in real estate, the people that you're working with, you end up becoming friends and
100%.
family. Like, I have friends that started out as clients and nothing but clients, but now I'm so actively, like, I just got married, and at my, like, you know, 700 person wedding, I think like at least 150 people there were clients, and my dad was like, who are these people? I was like, if I didn't invite them, they would be disappointed, you know?
Well, that wedding looked awesome, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I feel like even like today, me and Jason, we closed a deal, and, you know, congrats to Juan and Christian. We're on transaction number 4. They're throwing their kid's birthday party next week, and they told me and Jason, they're like, hey, you better be at our kid's birthday party. And we're like, yes.
Of course.
Because even Christian's dad, Jake, if we don't go, he may be disappointed. Like, I was like, I literally told Christian, I was like, hey, we're not even coming for you. Like, her dad, Jake, likes us so much.
That's hilarious.
And he's an awesome guy, and like, we all just bond. And so where are you going to take this family? Have you guys decided yet?
So we had planned to go to Cabo.
Oh, nice.
And then we had the whole COVID thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're still working on getting that rescheduled, but it's hard because they've got 3 kids. We've got 3 kids.
Yeah.
They're very busy with their careers. I'm busy with my career. So now it's like, it's one of those things that it's like, at the moment we're like, we're doing it, we're going. And then now it's like, time is gone. We're like, all right, we got to plan it. We got to do it. But yeah, Cabo's kind of the target.
Cabo, yeah. Man, that's awesome. And like, see, that's a reason to start doing business with Dillon.
Come on, let's go to Cabo.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. So you touched on mentors being very important, and I agree, because like I've had some amazing mentors in my career. Yeah. So why don't you tell me, how did you find your first mentor in real estate?
Well, I think if this is my experience, people want to help you.
Mm-hmm.
People do. Like, if you take the time to show initiative and like people that are at a level that you want to be at, if you go to them genuinely and are like, hey, I know I'm not where you're at, but I'll do whatever you want me to do. Just lead me and help me, and like I'll get there. That's the way I've always approached it. Like, just a very humble approach of going like, look, please just, I don't know. Like that first deal, I was like, I don't know how to write a repair amendment.
Yeah.
I have no idea. And I just remember Jeff Updike is the name. Still, I consider him, if it was not for him, I don't know if I can honestly say if it wasn't for him, I don't think I would still have made it.
Yeah.
Because at that time, I would go sit open houses for a condo development that he had, and we were making like maybe $300, like if we got a kind of a token thing. But he, aside from that, would literally hand me deals because he believed in me.
Yeah.
And I'm always grateful for that. And I just remember him going, I believe in you. I've watched you work. I know you've got talent. And, when I was just like I said, humbly came to him and said, hey, help me out. And that's literally my goal everywhere I've ever been. Try to hang out with people that are at the level that you want to be at. My current mentor, Lori Wall, she's always said, where you'll be in 5 years is determined by the people you spend time with and the books you read today.
Yeah.
So who you're hanging out with today and the books you read today is where you will eventually be in 5 years.
Yeah.
And that has been so true.
Yeah. Well, and I think the two key words you said is humble approach, right?
Yeah.
So like now, obviously we'll talk about kind of your role at the Wall team and what you're doing and how you're helping people, right?
Yeah.
Just where I'm at right now, I have a lot of people reach out, and like, I think we all have that person, right? It just takes that one person that kind of holds your hand and is like, hey, first of all, you have to decide for yourself, like, hey, I'm all in. And like, I think
that's the key.
Yeah, that's the key. Then another person, like your wife, like she was like, hey, I believe in you, right? So that was another thing. And I think when you kind of look back at it, you have these moments of, when I just got here to the, studio to shoot this podcast today, I was telling the guys, like, there's all these little decisions that you make that you don't even realize, like, you saying like, you know what? Engineering, I'm not doing it. I'm going to get into real estate. Think about how many people you've impacted, right? And then same thing through like your current mentor, or like first of all, Jeff, right? Yeah. And then now through Lori, all the people that you're impacting. So I would like you to, kind of talk about how you're kind of growing, talk about your role at the Wall team. Cause obviously we know you're a great real estate agent, and sometimes that's, all people do, but you're going to be in such a different role. And, I'm really excited to hear about what your goals are for 2023 and on.
Yeah. So, with the Wall team, it's kind of been an evolution. I'm celebrating my 10-year anniversary with them. Mm-hmm. About 4 years ago, we started a kind of a transition where I was purchasing equity in the company to become an owner.
Nice.
And we've kind of done that every year.
Nice.
And so as that's happened, my goal now is shifted from how much business can I go out and do on my own to, hey, I've been doing this 14 years. I've got a lot of experience. How can I help other people who want more for their life to be better?
Yeah.
And so, that whole thing has been amazing the last 4 years. So yeah, vision-wise, it's like we've got the pedal all the way down. Mm-hmm. We're coming up with new ideas every day, trying to push the team forward through new marketing ideas, hiring strategic partners, doing things like this where we can get our name out. Social media is something that we're trying to grow big time.
Yeah.
One of the things I really respect about you is like, man, like you kill it on social media.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you asked me the question, but I just got to give you props because I mean,
appreciate it.
I just love seeing like the creativity of your content is phenomenal. I mean, you've got so many different avenues of just listed, solds, conversations you're having with clients, podcasts, all the different things you're doing. I'm like, man, I got to get with this guy.
Yeah. Well, no. And I mean, like, I think that's the thing is, and that's why, like, we're having, we're starting this podcast and we're doing these things is because, between us, like, I think what you guys are doing, like, you guys have been, the Wall team has been around for 22 years.
Right.
You've been there with them 10.
Right.
And, me starting out my team, like, eventually, like, that is my goal, to have the like-minded people around me that I want to, grow with, you know what I mean? And
Right.
one thing like social media, we really do focus on it because it is the future, right?
For sure.
But you always have to stick to the basics, right? Like you have to be, a lot of people are doing the cold calling, a lot of people are doing the open doors. So what do you feel like are the basics in real estate? Like what does like someone who is newly licensed, what are the few key things that they need to do? Obviously, if they start off with social media, that's great. But what else besides social media?
All right. So this is what I tell every single person: treat real estate, and this has worked for me, and I still do it to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Treat real estate as if you were going to a 9-to-5 job.
Wow.
And so what I mean by that is, like, a lot of people have this misconception about realtors. They have this conception that they make themselves look great on social media. They go and they, it's all about self-promotion. But behind it is like the people that are really doing the work, like yourself, they're not seeing that part.
Mm-hmm.
That part doesn't get glamorized. What gets glamorized is the closing picture, or, hey, I'm touring this $2 million house today. Check this out.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like I show up to the office every day at the same time, barring an appointment, right? Like barring a closing, barring like me meeting with somebody, like
or family.
100%. Like, but I show up every single day ready to work. And that's the piece that I think gets lost is like, especially now that we've a lot of companies and people have transitioned to working at home.
Mm-hmm.
You can still do that at home, but actually honor the time.
Yeah.
Like, so that's number one to me is like, wake up every day with the mindset that like, I'm going to work.
Yeah.
I'm not just sitting back hoping the phone rings or hoping my one social media post gets me someone that reaches out. And I think too is like getting involved with people.
Yeah.
Calling people.
Yeah.
That is such a lost art. Trust me, I text a lot too.
Yeah.
But there's something different when you actually pick up the phone. I think a lot of people are scared to do it because they're like, what am I going to say? How am I going to say? If you make it, it's very, this is the way it was taught to me. When you think about the fear of calling somebody, it's selfish because you're worried about yourself. You're worried about, am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to do it the right way? What are they going to think of me? Oh, I haven't talked to them in 5 years. Are they going to be upset with me? But when you actually flip it around and you're going, I'm just going to call this person because I care about them. I want to check on them. I want to see how their family's doing. I want to see what they're doing for a vacation.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it becomes about them. It's so much easier to make that call because you're genuinely calling, not trying to get business, but to connect. And I think when people know, this is another thing about mistakes I see realtors make. They tend to make it about themselves.
100%.
And that's part of the reputation most realtors have is they're in it for a quick buck. It's really about them. The people that I know are the most successful are the most generous, the most selfless, willing to do anything for anybody.
Yeah.
That's the kind of people that you'll attract as a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
People are perceptive. They know if you're trying to like scheme them for a closing.
Yep.
But if you're genuine about who you are, they'll work with you and they'll be attracted to you because they'll know like our relationship is more than just the transaction.
100%.
And to me, that's the key.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. In simpler words, like you just have to get your reps in, right?
Yes.
Like like we see all these stories about like how intensely like Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, the Kobe used to train and LeBron still currently trains, right? Like, because it's like, it's an art, right? Like, a lot of people, it is lost. And I think it's hilarious because I think millennials are really guilty of this, right? And like when we were at lunch, you kind of told me, you were like, I'm at the bare edge of being a millennial and
I'm a geriatric millennial.
Yeah. So it's funny because I know friends that they refuse to call the doctor to set an appointment. They'll make their mom still do it.
Oh, wow.
And it's a joke. Like on Twitter, it's like, yeah, I'm so old, but I'm still scared to call and set an appointment at the doctor because it's a lost art. Like I've actually noticed that like some transactions I've actually tried to call the agent, but they just text me back instead of answering the phone. Yeah. And then the transaction finishes and I realize like I never spoke to that agent on the phone, but I want to just to at least have that initial call and maybe like one call in the middle of the transaction. you know, the business has changed so much since 2021 to
sure.
like before it was, right? Like it
Right.
was all phone calls.
Yep.
I've seen the transition from like 2016 to 2021, and I don't even want to like see. I mean, I kind of do want to ask, like, what's the biggest thing that's transitioned from when you started selling real estate like 14 years ago to now? Like, what do you
Yeah.
feel like the biggest transitions have been?
I know this is gonna sound weird, but like I used to drive in the car with all my clients.
Oh wow,
Like whenever I was showing buyers, like I always would pick them up.
really?
Oh yeah, it was always like, oh, you'd meet at the office, then you'd go, because well, I guess it's a different time, right?
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, right now, inventory wise, and even the last like say 5 years, we've been in a seller's market.
Yep.
Where there's less homes for sale than there are buyers to buy them.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not uncommon for like a realtor on a Saturday, you would pick your client up in your car and you would literally drive them around and show 10 houses in a day.
Wow.
And that was normal. I showed 23 houses one time in a day.
Man.
Yeah, with the clients in the car, buzzing around all over town. That has changed a lot because now it's like I can't remember the last time I had a client in the car. I know
Yeah.
that's kind of a weird thing, but
Well, yeah.
like
Well, I
now
mean,
you just meet at the house.
yeah.
I would say communication is also a big change.
Yep.
Texting obviously is I just feel like the efficiency of our business has gotten so good. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't really operate MLS off of your phone.
Yeah.
So like if you were gonna go to do showings, you literally had to print off the MLS sheets and carry them with you.
Mm-hmm.
Literally now with the app, it's like you have the MLS at your fingertips. When your client asks you a question at the house, it's like, oh, I got the answer right here.
Yeah. Showing time and Supra have made our lives so much easier.
Oh, for sure.
And obviously, how do you feel about this broker bay thing that's come out? Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
personally don't like it because I'm like, man, as a show, you know, I still help buyers, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm going between two apps, and I mean,
Yeah.
I'm spoiled, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I've been in the
Yeah.
new generation. You know, one of my mentors, Don Lawyer, told me he was like, you had to used to go pick up the key from like, like you know,
an office.
and you have to go get actually the MLS sheet. Like this is even before your time. He was telling me like you had to go get that MLS sheet or something like that from, and I was just like, it has changed significantly, like online
Oh, yeah.
and all that stuff. So what is something that like you like live and swear by? Like, is there any app? Like, how do you stay organized? Like between family
Yeah.
and between family, social life,
Yeah.
business,
Yeah.
your own transactions. What
Right.
keeps you on track?
Well, I'm 100% paperless. So that about 3 years ago, we made that decision as a company that we were going to go paperless. That took time, kind of like adjusting to broker bay.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It takes time to get used to new things. I can run my entire business on my phone.
Wow.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, so that keeps me organized. OneDrive basically is what I use. All the transaction folders, everything's in there. So I mean, I would say, and then we have a CRM also, which for the clients keeping notes up to date and all that stuff. Calendars, everything on the calendars is on the phone. So I mean, really, I have my laptop, but I can easily run everything from my
Through
phone.
your phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so is Google Calendar like a big part of your daily, or is what
We don't use Google Calendar. We just use we have Microsoft Outlook.
Oh,
but it's
Outlook, yeah.
it's shared. Like
Yeah.
so, it's kind of cool on our team. Speaking of, teams are tricky.
Yeah.
Keeping a team is very difficult because most consumers, they don't like the idea of working with one person. It's like security, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about having a team, if you're not all on the same page at all times, you look terrible. So one of the things, like I can look up any single team member at any given time. So it's probably similar to like Google Calendar, but like everything is synced.
Yep.
Our CRM is synced. We have a group text. I mean, everything that we do. I mean, we communicate every day, constantly, because we never want a client to feel like someone's disconnected from somebody else.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, like communication is key, right?
Yeah.
And so with that communication, organization is huge. And like you said, it doesn't happen overnight, right? It took a while, a process. And like, I think you have to have, and this is for any business and any like entrepreneur, I don't care whether it's real estate or anything like that. First of all, you have to make a decision of like, yes, I'm going to communicate, and yes, I'm going to be organized, whether that's hiring an assistant, whatever can keep you. Cause I mean, in this business, like, time really does kill deals.
100%.
And like, like
clients don't believe that, but it's true.
Yeah. Well, so let me talk about an example. Last night I was out showing, I had the busiest day, and my client was like, hey, let's go look at this house at 6 p.m. So we had two showings. The house that we left they decided to put an offer on. It's been on the market 92 days. I tried to call the listing agent, tried to text the listing agent, hey, we're sending in an offer. No reply.
Wow.
And so 92 days on the market. So I wasn't too worried, right? And this was a house in Grapevine. Well, turns around, this morning, we had the offer submitted and everything like that by 9 a.m. this morning, like as quickly as we could, because the buyer wanted to call me and ask me a couple questions.
Sure.
And I had explained it to them. And turns out they had already executed an offer at 9 p.m. last night. So, we're kind of in that part of the year where the market's heating up again. Yeah. And even I wasn't worried. Like I was like, 92 days. Yeah. I was like, oh, we're good. You know what I mean? If it was like 5 or 6 days, I would have, kind of sent an email too, but I just called and texted and I didn't get a response. So I was just like, it's late. It's 7:30. Right. You know what I mean? Whatever. I'll still get it in. We had the offer in it, and literally today around 11 o'clock they were like, oh yeah, we executed an offer last night at 9 p.m. But time really does kill deals.
Yeah, that's a big thing for us as realtors. It's like we've got to constantly stay on top of it.
100%. Yeah, 100%, because I feel like buyers, I'm sure you've seen this a lot. I remember in my first couple transactions, I would remember how my clients would get heartbroken when they would lose an offer, right? And because we were in it was new. 2016 is when the multiple offer things came out. We'd never even the people that I was working with, on my team, they were like, yeah, this is all new to us. It started off with 3K above, going 3K above asking, going 5K above asking. And then we all know what happened in 2021 and 2022. 50K offers, 100K offers above asking, and
250.
Oh, 250. Is that
that's my personal one that we had. I was the listing agent on.
Wow.
250 over.
And what was the offer that was the closest to it?
Yeah, what was crazy? It was a house in Colleyville, and it was in $1 million price point. So as a percentage basis, it wasn't as dramatic as if it was like a $250,000 house going for 500. But still, very competitive. There was a lot of people. What was interesting is, at the time, most buyers, even the ones that weren't in the top 5, thought their offers were phenomenal. Because if you did write 150 over, why would you not think that that's a good offer? Yeah. Well, in comparison to the other top ones we had, that wasn't even a consideration. Yeah. That's what's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and so, we saw things of what else can you do, right? Because the thing is I'm sure on the buyer side, right, you want to protect your client to they're purchasing something. You don't want, a real estate is supposed to be it's an asset, right? So you don't want someone to hurt them financially either, where in 3 years that same house is selling for even less than they paid for
sure.
Which I think a lot of our buyers understood the market where we have so many people coming in from outside. And I think we're going to see it again, because every single day I'm seeing an article, 2023, DFW is going to be the number 1 or the number 2 market in all of America. So that's crazy to see. Tell me how you guys are really dominating Colleyville. The Wall team, Dillon McDonald, you guys have such a presence in Colleyville. First of all, why, right? Why Colleyville out of all places? And number 2, what motivates y'all?
So as far as why or how, so it started really before I even joined the team. But the vision was, how do we do more business per transaction, if that makes sense. So as a company, it's obviously if you could sell $1 million house, that's the same as selling $200,000 houses, right? So there was an intentional effort of where can we move? Where can we put our headquarters? Where can we put our office? Where the price point is ahead of where we were at the time. So that was the decision that was made before I even came on the team. But looking back, that was crucial because it put us in the center of not where we were at the time, but where we wanted to be. And so that was a very pivotal decision. I think being in the community, also living in the community. So I think most people, what's cool is I can sell a house anywhere in Texas. So can you, right? But where I feel like the market is wanting is local expertise. So I feel personally I have local expertise in all of DFW. I genuinely do.
100%.
But when you're selling a home, see, that's the key. When you're having a brand, it's about the listings. The listings, in order to own an area, you've got to have your signs in the yard.
That's the key.
If people don't see your signs in the yard, they don't know. Even if you represent a lot of buyers, no one knows it. So making an intentional effort to get listings, putting our office in the location where we wanted to be, and then surrounding, like I said, our team with people outside of our scope, website creators, developers, people that are really good at the things we're not good at, and doing those things for us, not trying to do it ourselves.
Yeah. So where did you guys come from? Where did the wall team come from when they shifted from where were they before? Euless.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And so that's not too far off.
No.
And so like it's crazy, you know, you just move what 3-4 miles and you're in this whole market domination. I'm not from Colleyville, but I know the saying "call the walls."
Yeah.
Like,
cool. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Glad
so
to know.
brand awareness, right? Brand awareness, right?
Yeah.
Like it's easier to have a digital presence now than it was before.
Yeah.
But the thing is you guys are still sticking to like what works.
Yeah.
I know that you guys have a billboard.
Yeah, we do have a billboard. Yeah.
And that's great for brand awareness.
Yeah.
And I mean, one thing that I always tell people, you're in real estate, you want to sell real estate.
Yeah.
Look at brands like Coke, McDonald's. They're still running ads.
100%.
They're still running ads. And even like brands like Honda, Toyota, Nike. They don't need to advertise anymore. Like if I say Nike, you instantly think athletic clothing, shoes, right? If I say McDonald's, you think of a cheeseburger. If I say Coke, you think of a refreshing drink, right? So like branding is so key, and these brands have already made it. They've made billions of dollars,
right?
And they still do have marketing budgets and everything like that.
Yeah.
But us as real estate agents, we get so like complacent almost. When we talk to someone and we're thinking, oh, we'll spend money on this, we'll spend money on that. But when it comes time to marketing, we're kind of like, oh, well, like, I don't want to share my commission that way. I don't want to spend money on that. So, I mean, I think, you know, we have to get creative, right? Like that's another key.
For sure.
So, yeah, I mean, what would you say, like, since we started talking about like the $250,000 above asking, right?
Yeah.
That was your record.
Yeah.
On your listing. What was the record for what your buyer paid over a listing was it 2021 or 2022?
That was 2021.
Okay.
Record my buyer paid over asking, I want to say it was probably close to 75K.
75K? Okay.
Yeah. But you know, it's interesting, like, you know, our job is to consult and advise. We're not really the decision makers.
100%.
And so that's what people go to us for, is that they want to make a decision and they want to be guided towards that decision, but we're not the ones helping them.
Yeah.
So it really depends on each specific person's financial situation and also what their motivation is.
Yeah.
The person I was talking about paid cash for the house.
Yeah.
We sold their property, and their motivation for being in this specific area of Frisco was they wanted to be close to their daughter, who has little girls, and their other daughter who has kids.
Yeah.
To them, their value, when this specific house came up, the value to them was whatever it takes for us to get that house, that's what we want. They're paying cash. They're not worried about, oh, what if we have to sell the house in 2 years? And I would have had a different conversation with the client had it been someone that was doing a minimum down payment, first-time home buyer, you know, situation. So, so that one was, like I said, that was probably the most I've ever had a buyer pay over.
Yeah. And so see, like that's the thing is like our job is to give advice, right?
Yeah.
So what I was doing, because there was multiple offer situations on pretty much every house in DFW.
Right.
If you didn't have a multiple offer situation, you either really overpriced it or whatever.
Yeah.
So what I was doing at that time was I was still listing the house at what I felt like was the market, like what it would appraise for. That's what I was doing, right? But then what I would do is let's say if I was representing the buyer, I would ask them like their capacity, like, hey, if you do this, like let's say we are paying title policy, we waive inspection.
Right.
Obviously, if it's a newer house, you know, if we pay for title policy, if we waive inspection, we're doing all these things, and you feel like you've done your all, and you get it.
Right.
Great.
Yes.
But if you don't, it wasn't meant 100%. To be. And so like that's what we would do. That's how we would come up with the amount. Because it's so key. And like I feel like as real estate agents, we're almost not. Our job isn't even the looking at comps, or it's not even that. It's just helping people make an informed decision.
For sure.
And some being a professional and kind of, going off your expertise, of course, like what happens in a transaction, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's so funny, like a newer agent will come to me and they'll be talking to their buyers, and I'm like, okay, we're negotiating repairs or we're negotiating an offer. I was like, we'll probably end up meeting in the middle at this point, because it's like, I come from a background where I was taught a win-win for everyone, right?
Yeah.
You want your buyers to win, you want your sellers to win. You don't want to leave a sour taste in anyone's mouth, like in the sense of like, oh, that real estate agent just tried to get me or something like that. Because the other flip side of it is you don't want your sellers to feel like you're doing a disservice and listing the property too low. So I actually do have a question for you. Someone comes to you and they're like, Dillon, I want to list my property, but they're trying to list it $50K above market value because, oh, Dillon, we're going to work backwards, right? Yeah. What do you say?
So it's funny. This just happened.
Yeah.
I have a listing under contract right now. We did this exact scenario just came up, except it wasn't 50,000, it was 250,000. My recommended list price was $1,450,000. They wanted to go a lot higher than that.
Yeah.
So you have a choice as an agent at that point. Again, asking key questions, that's where you get gold, because if you're sitting there not asking the right questions, you might say something that really you don't get to the bottom of why they want that price.
Yeah.
What I discovered was they're moving back to California. Okay, they moved here 2 years ago, bought the house, jobs taken them back to California. They don't have to be in California till the summer. So when they were making this decision, they were like, we don't have to move right now. So I said, okay, well then let's come up with a plan. So you have a choice right there. You can either walk away as the listing agent and go, hey, this isn't going to sell.
Yeah.
Okay, which is an option. I've done that many times.
Yeah, because the reason you do it, the reason you walk away is because, one, it'll hurt the brand, because they'll say, Dillon can't sell my house.
100%.
You're going to spend money on marketing the property, and you're going to really, flyers, photography, and go all out in your time.
Time is the big one.
Yeah.
That's honestly the big one. Is there's a hard cost of selling real estate, but there's also your time and emotional investment in your clients.
Yes.
We have a saying at our company. It's like, I would rather tell a seller, I would rather right now tell you I can't do this job for you than overpromise and then disappoint you later.
100%.
Right? Because, so in this specific case, we had a very clear plan, which was we were going to list the house during the holidays, which we did during December, at the price they wanted. We were going to give it 3 weeks. If the feedback came in that it was priced too high, if whatever the case is, we were going to use the feedback and then take it off the market and then reprice it in the spring. So in the situation that we had, I built the listing agreement out long enough to where I could have the house for sale both during the 3 weeks in December, pause, and then I'll have it in the spring. What ended up happening is they got fearful of the market. So they started like kind of spiraling after they got the feedback, which I told them was coming. They start thinking, no one wants our house, drop the price. So we did. So we did 3 price adjustments, got the house to the point of which I originally recommended, went ahead and did it now. And as soon as not exaggerating, as soon as we dropped the price to the original price that I had kind of recommended, I want to say it was within 6 hours, we had a full price offer and were executed.
Wow.
They went through 45 showings from December through, I guess, we just executed last week. So they went through like 45 days of showings when all they had to do was price it right to begin with.
Yeah. So, and I mean, like but
that was their choice.
Yeah.
And so that was the thing. Again, it wasn't my choice. If they had told me, Dillon, we want an agent who believes in the price that we're setting, and that's going to be the price, and don't count on a price reduction, I would have never taken the listing.
100%.
But we had a plan.
Yeah.
So in that case, it was cool.
Yeah. No, and so I think what you're saying is so important, right? Because I've used that example, right? Like when they're set on the price, like hey, I only want this price.
Right.
Then you have to have those tough conversations. Hey, Dillon, why are you not getting it sold? If you buy into their belief that their property was worth that $250,000,
right.
If you buy into the belief that yes, this is a 1.6 or whatever property,
right.
You're kind of doing them a disservice, and you're setting up yourself for a tough phone call.
Yeah.
So I would rather walk away from it. But the thing is they would have gone to a non-experienced agent and they would have told them, oh yeah, like we can do this. And but they came to you guys because you were experts and they listened to you. And I think that's why they got the results that they wanted. And I'm glad you were firm with them. And obviously you've been doing this so long, so you knew what to do. You knew how to set the expectations, because otherwise, like, I feel like too many agents will just take the listing just to break into the market.
Oh, 100%. And then they look like idiots afterwards. So here's the key. Here's a little nugget.
Yeah.
Most people forget 95% of what you say. Okay? So you're on a listing appointment. You're talking to the client. We have this great plan. Everything's good. 30 days later, they're calling you up. So this came with experience. Doing exactly what you just said. What's up with this? Why is my house not sold? How come you're not selling it, right? In this conversation, this is what I do with my clients that are in this position. I will never argue with someone. I will never argue with them. I'm right. I know everything. I've been doing it too long where I've been wrong enough times to realize, like, I know what on paper it should do, but here's what I do after the appointment. I follow up with an email detailing the plan, not counting on them to remember the plan. So, Mr. Great talking to y'all today. So excited to work with y'all. Just to confirm our game plan, we will go live on December 15th. We will start coming soon on December 7th. We will then pause the listing on January 15th if the house is not sold. We will then readjust the price to 1450 when we relist the property in the spring. When you do that at the time when they're excited and they're believed, then you always have that to refer back to, and there's never any doubt about, well, I don't remember you saying that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, you told me. You told me that the house should sell for 1.6 or 1.7. Follow up with the email post meeting, because you'll always have the documentation and they'll remember it.
Yeah. Well, and I think so 45 showings on that property, that's an outrageous number. And that says a lot about the market, right? Because
100%.
Because sellers are throwing this number because I have some sellers like this too, right? They're like, oh, we'll list for this, and then we'll just work our way backwards. It doesn't work like that.
Doesn't.
It's like, because the buyers are used to, like, first of all, like, sometimes buyers don't want to. Don't get me wrong, there are some buyers that aren't afraid of throwing in a low ball, right?
Right.
But agents, even, like, they don't want to have that reputation. Oh, I submitted so many offers on the wall team's listings, and they were all low balls, and now they look like a bad agent too, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about, like, image, how you want to be perceived.
For sure.
And so I think we have to get our sellers to move away from we'll just work backwards. No, let's list it at what the market says it's worth. And in turn, I think if your sellers would have listed at the original price, it may have turned into a multiple offer situation.
I guarantee you, if we had come out just straight up, because what happened was during, like, December 15th, probably through, like, the first week of, maybe second week of January, there were a ton of buyers out there. 45 showings at a $1.7 million price point. 45. That's an insane amount of showings of people who are out in the market looking at that price range. Way more than I expected.
100%.
Right? So, like, we ended up probably missing, like, if we had popped on at the time, because what drew people in was our photography. Like, we took some pretty, I would say, very dynamic shots of the house that made it stand out from the typical house in that price range. So we got a lot of views and a lot of, I would say, people wanting to come see it. But then when they came and saw it, they were like, compared to what else they were seeing in person, they were like, like, this house is just missing this. It doesn't have the outdoor kitchen, or it doesn't have this or the other thing. I guarantee you, if they had priced that originally, we probably would have had multiple offers, and they probably would have made an extra $50K.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's so tough because, like, you want to, like, and I think it's like managing expectations and stuff like that. And then the thing is when that happens, sometimes the sellers are like, see, I told you it was worth more. And so you got to deal with that.
I don't care at that point. I'm like, hey, you were right.
Yeah. So we've touched on it. I mean, clearly you're in you do transactions quite frequently in the $1 million price point. When did you feel like that became like an average sales price for you?
Probably, I would say about 4 years ago.
4 years ago. So that's like 10 years in the business almost?
Yeah, a lot of people, the misconception is, and I'll tell you this, like, even some of the people that I know in the industry that sell a lot in the $1 million price point, there are a percentage of them that just jump right into it. But that is not the norm. It's probably like again, as the geriatric millennial, I'll say like the TikTok stars, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of young people that are like, oh, I want to get famous on TikTok, or I want to be a YouTuber, right? And they point to Dude Perfect, or they point to like these
Mr. Beast.
Right, like Mr. Beast, like these people that have millions and millions and millions, and they're like, I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
But they don't realize what their life and what their trajectory is like before that. They just see the result, and they're like, I don't want to. So like, point is, don't shoot for the Mr. Beast guy as you're right when you get started. Be willing to do anything and everything it takes to grind at every level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you know, like the people that I'm now selling $1 million houses for, many of them, I helped them on their first house 10 years ago when they weren't making nothing.
Yeah.
There's an agent on our team who got a lease lead off of Zillow for a up and coming attorney who hadn't even passed the bar yet. He got passed around on Zillow by like 4 or 5 agents who didn't want to deal with a lease.
Mm-hmm.
An agent on our team decided, oh, I'm 100%, like I'll help you with a lease. It was like a $2,700 a month lease.
Yeah.
Fast forward 3 years, that attorney just closed a $3.3 million house in Westlake, in Vaquero, would only work with our agent.
Wow.
Because he goes, you were the guy that was willing to show me the lease properties when all these other realtors passed me up. And he goes, I'm loyal to you for life.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And like, I'm almost 100% sure 3.3 million was a record for that agent.
Yeah, it was a record for our office.
so
I mean, it was awesome.
So not even a record for that agent, a record for the whole brokerage that's been in business for like what?
Yeah, a long time.
Like 20 plus years,
22
right?
years, yeah.
Yeah, and all because one agent took that $2,700 lease lead, which I know a lot of agents turn up their nose to leases.
100%
And
they do,
so I feel like, you know, like I get it. We're really busy and, you know, leases don't pay enough or whatever. But I mean, look at how that paid off for that agent. That is amazing.
Oh, talk about, I mean, think about the commission on a 3% of 3.3 million.
Yeah.
Tell me that lease wasn't worth the time. Plus they've become friends.
Yeah.
And now guess what? The guy on our team is rolling around in what circle?
Yeah.
When that client had by the way, he spent 3.3, did an $800K renovation on the house. Had a huge housewarming party. Guess who he invited to the party? Our agent. Guess who got to be in the group amongst all these people that are rolling like that?
Yep. Yeah.
So now, I'm just saying, like, that's it. You never, to me, it's like as a new agent, say yes to everything.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing is like, say yes.
Well, and you kind of already touched on it. Like, you know, there are some agents that have really blown their business up off of social media, like, you know, off TikTok, Instagram Reels, all that stuff, right? But, you know, other agents are looking at that and, like, I think there's two things. Yes, brand yourself. No one is saying don't brand yourself.
Right.
But, you know, in our industry, it's such a revolving door. People get in it and they want to see instant success, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you talk about your largest transaction ever. We were kind of talking about it. It was 2.2 million.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
I mean, that's what's kind of weird, I guess, as long as I've been in the business. It didn't feel any different.
Yep.
Than closing a $500,000 house. I mean, and I say that genuinely.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the one difference was I called up Christina and was like, hey, guess what? Close that house on Cheeksburger. We're going to Nick and Sam's tonight with the kids. Get them ready and let's go. You know. And so we did have, like, I do believe
celebrating your wins.
Have to celebrate your wins. That was one of the early advices I got. Our business is brutal in a way. It's glorified on TV. It's glorified on social media, but the emotional things that we deal with when you're a realtor that does it full time and it's your profession and you eat, sleep, and breathe it, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard emotionally and it's hard mentally. So when you get a win, you have to stop to celebrate it, because what you'll end up doing is if you don't stop to celebrate the wins, all you focus on are the deals that fall apart, are the deals that, you know, you did everything right and the client lost his job right before closing. So you do something fun. Like, I'll tell you one thing I do. This is probably unique. When I have clients that treat me poorly, because that happens. You get clients all the time that treat you great, but there are some clients that unfortunately don't treat you the way you feel like you should be treated. When I get the commission check, I will take it and I will invest it in our kids' college fund. That check.
Wow.
And then what I do mentally is I go, thank you for investing in my kids' future. Yeah. So I don't give them the power I basically say, okay, you wanted to basically act like that and call me all these names and basically hang up on me or threaten this and threaten that. It's like, cool. Well, thank you for the business. I appreciate you. And I literally take that entire check and I split it between our 3 kids, put it in college fund, and that's what's growing their college fund. So when our kids are older, what's going to be in their college fund is all the commission checks for the clients that made me question. Because when you have clients like that, it makes you question whether or not you should be in this business, honestly.
Yeah.
It really does. Even after all these years, like there's times I feel like, man, like this is hard. Like this is really tough. Like I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
So that's my personal way of like kind of going, all right, I'm not going to let you have the upper hand.
Yeah.
Because you just invested in my kid's college future.
Yeah. Well, and I think the reverse of it is, right, like when you have those kind of very few deals, but then it's like you have that transaction and that family is just so thankful.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's just like, this is why I do it.
100%.
Well, and, this is a perfect segment to go back to something that you said, like, serving others. When I asked you, hey, how did that $2.2 million transaction make you feel? You said, it wasn't any different because you're not motivated by the money.
Right.
You're motivated
by
helping people. You treat a $150,000 condo client, a $2,700 lease client, the same as you treat a 2.2 or even a $3.3 million client. Like, and we need more people like you guys in the industry. Like I remember at my old brokerage, I was actually 2 brokerages ago, I was at this award ceremony and an agent came up to me and they were like, Nav, you're doing so great and you're in such a good price point. My average price point was probably $500K. And she's like, all my clients are broke. Her actual words. Oh, wow. And I was just like, that's why you don't have any clients because of your mindset. Yeah. And she, I was so disappointed as I was like, these are the people that are in our industry. And, she probably doesn't even know this, but those words stuck to me for so long that the people that are helping her become a success, the people that are the people that are helping her become a success, the people that are, keeping the food on her table, the people that are funding her future kids' college fund, right? She said that's what she said about her clients. I was like, anytime, I'll always answer my phone and everything like that, but at that point I was like, this is an agent I don't want anything to do with. So I think
that's an important thing though about our industry as professionals. For younger agents or newer agents or even agents who've been in the business, sometimes we all need the reminder. The reputation that we have and the relationships we create with other realtors is so valuable to our clients. I met with an agent this morning as part of my coaching duties that I do with the team. He just got a $950,000 house in Grapevine under contract, multiple offers.
Wow.
The agent literally told him, your buyer is getting this house because of you. Yep. Every time I've tried to reach out to you, you've answered your phone. You're extremely like the email, the way he organized the email with the offer summary, calling her, explaining the buyer, all she said the other agent who was cash, our buyer's finance, the cash buyer didn't get the house because the realtor advised the sellers, hey, look, you can pick whatever offer you want, but I'm just telling you, this agent has done all of these things. This agent just only emailed me the offer and basically sent me a text. I feel comfortable that this transaction is going to close.
And it's as good as cash.
It's as good as cash.
Yep.
And just like you inviting me to do this podcast, it's so cool because we've obviously known each other. We started, I guess, that little workout group many times ago. But just getting to connect with other realtors who are professionals in the business, when your clients are then out in the market, whether selling or buying, and the other agent on the other end is reputable, honest, is going to do a great job. Sometimes the deals don't close. There's agents that I've done deals with that we didn't make it to the closing table, but it was nothing that they could have prevented. Yeah. They communicated the whole way through. The effort was there. It was just the circumstances.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be always times deals fall apart, right? You can't control your buyers. You can't control your sellers. I mean, it's a very emotional process buying a home. Yeah. This is the way I look at it is when someone chooses to buy or sell a home with you, it's their largest transaction.
Oh yeah.
Once you have that mindset, whoever you're working with, if you keep that mindset, this is they're making their largest life transaction with me, and I need to treat this important. I think that's when you'll see a big change in our industry, and because I mean, the reality is, I mean, I think you know this as well. I truly believe that 20% of the industry is doing 80% of the business.
It's more like 7 actually.
Oh, wow.
7% of the industry is doing 80% of the business.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I always thought 20%.
No,
so
it used to be, but the market's condensed.
So that means you have how many percent fighting for that other 20%?
Yeah.
Like you have over like 90% basically.
Yeah.
You have 93% of people fighting for that last 20% of business. You know, that's like my cousin's a realtor or my cousin's like, you know, they do this and well. But man, no, that's awesome. I'm really excited to see what you accomplish with the wall team.
Yeah.
And it's pretty great that, you know, you can, you know, like what you're doing and how you're growing other leaders. And I know like if someone's coming from the wall team, they have obviously Lori Wall's experience and Dillon McDonald on their side.
Oh, yeah.
And that says a lot. So what would you say to agents that are, you know, like, you know, what's your last, like, if you could say anything, what would you say to new agents or even, you know, agents that have been in the business 3 years? Because, you know, even if you've been in the industry 3 years, I still consider you're kind of, that's when you really find out what you're doing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think persistence is the key. If you can, you can't rely. I compare it to the NFL a lot because you're only as good as your last game. That's the way I always try to explain to people. It's like, so you know, 2020, I guess maybe it was 2019. I think I closed 92 units.
Wow. In
1 year, and you know, it was close to 40 million or 30. It was something like it was a lot.
Yeah.
And the next year, it's like that doesn't matter. So whether you had a great year or a bad year, set the reset.
Yep.
And that's why I compare it to like football. So it's like persistence is key. I mentioned earlier, like my first year in the business, I lost money. Literally on our tax return, lost money. My second year in the business, lost money.
Yep.
Like like I said, if it wasn't for the people in my life that supported me, I wouldn't be still in the business. It was year 3 is where it really ramped up, year 4 and so on.
Yeah.
So, persistence is key. Have an emotional support system. Like I said, whether it's other realtors, I think that's huge just to be able to talk to other people. Because if you try to carry the burdens of our business on your shoulders, like it's hard because you wake up every single day not knowing if you're going to make a deal, not make a deal, how you're going to pay. You know, we pay quarterly taxes. Yeah. You know, that's another thing most people don't tell you about. That I was like, oh, you have to pay quarterly taxes. What if I don't make any money in the quarter? Because that was me for a long time. I was like, I got to send the money to the government when I don't have money.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, starting at zero, you start at zero every single week, every single month. Yeah. It's not guaranteed.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that was something that always messed with my mind. Because, like, you know, thankfully, like, you know, I'm at a consistent flow where, you know I'm going to close 4 or 5 deals a month.
Right.
But it took me, you know, 5 years to get to this level.
Yeah.
And like, you know, a lot of people, they think it happens quick. You know what I mean? And I just remember when I was just out of college, I was just like, one transaction, just one transaction a month. And then that one transaction turned into, man, just if I could do this one every month, right? And I know you remember that feeling, right?
Oh, I remember being in the hot tub. I'll never forget that. I remember being in the hot tub in Dallas. You know, I was telling you that first deal that I closed. Like, I remember being in the hot tub. It was like, I don't know, 5:30 or something. And it was in the summertime. And I remember I had my phone on the edge of the hot tub. I'll never forget this. And like, I had the phone on the edge of the hot tub. It was the other realtor, the listing agent, calling me, telling me that we got the house. And I just remember like the feeling of like, oh my gosh, I actually sold something. Yeah. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah. Well, and then I think you went to that closing, right? We were talking about this before we started. You went to that closing and they were like, how do you, you're like, so where's the key?
Yeah. The buyer was like, so like you see on TV that like at the closing table, like, here's your key.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like they get done signing and my client looks at me. He's like, oh, so like, do I get the key now? And I was like, yeah. And I look at the escrow officer, you know, and I'm like, do you have the key to give the buyer? Like, I was kind of like, and she's like, no, that's your job. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, yeah, you might want to like coordinate with the listing agent about getting the key. So then like I like rushed out of there. I was like calling listing, is the lockbox still on there? Can I get the key? And the agent's like, yeah.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. Man, we covered a lot of great things
Yeah.
today, and I think we're kind of hitting the 1 hour mark. One last thing I just wanted to ask is, so I know you're a truck guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you love trucks.
Yeah, yeah.
But what's the dream car? Is it
Ooh.
is it like a lifted truck? Is it a dually? What is it?
I've got two actually.
All right, let's hear them.
All right. You might either appreciate this or think this is crazy.
Yeah.
So when I was in high school, 2002 is when I graduated high school. There was I don't know if the color, I don't know the technical color, but
Yeah.
like it looks to me like burnt orange.
Okay.
So I went to UT.
Yep.
So big burnt orange guy. There's a WS6 Trans Am. It's got the double hood scoop with the big spoiler on the back.
Nice.
Like that is to me, like, I guess it's just the fact that like I could never afford the car
Back then.
but like that was the car I always just like, if I ever saw it, and even to this day I'm like, every time I see one I'm like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
I have a personal goal, and my wife's already given me the blessing. If I hit this personal goal, I'm getting the car. That hasn't happened yet. It's a big goal, but if I do, that's the car I'm getting. Now if we're going like big time,
Yeah, big time. Like big time.
I like the Phantom.
Oh, Rolls Royce.
I mean, to me that's just like the biggest baller status you could get.
I 100% agree, man. If you pull up in a Rolls Royce Phantom, like people know. So like,
Yeah, exactly.
Like you got your own umbrella, you got the stars in the you got the stars in the roof. I really like the Cullinan. What do you think about the Cullinan?
I don't even know what that is.
That's a Rolls Royce SUV.
Oh,
so
okay.
they have an SUV out now. Maybe it may change.
I don't know about these luxury cars. Okay, so I'm not a car guy, but like I don't understand like the Lamborghinis going SUV. Like to me, it's kind of like diminishing the brand almost. Like I feel like it's cool like when you have just the super sports car thing.
Yeah, you know what I honestly think it is. I think it's their, because Ferrari just released an SUV.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, so Ferrari has its own SUV now.
Yeah.
You know, for the longest time, Porsche never had like sedans,
Right,
or
right.
they always had the SUVs.
Right.
But they released the Panamera.
Right.
It's almost like, hey, we know we have a clientele that can afford our supercars, so they're gonna want to buy our like SUVs to like daily drive around town, because it's not very practical to drive like an Aventador around, like even in Colleyville area. You rarely see them, but you'll see a SUV more. So I think that's why they release these cars.
Interesting.
So they're like, because they have the buyers and the clientels for it.
Yeah.
So more branding, because now you have the constant like, oh, there's that Lamborghini SUV.
Yeah, and that is true. Like I do notice the Lamborghini SUVs more. I was at Perry's the other day and like I joked because there was one parked in the front. I was like, oh, they parked my car up front.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I feel like if you're putting kids in it,
Yeah.
I feel like all of a sudden it's not as cool. Does that make sense? Like,
no, that does. And I mean, I think what happens is like that's not their cool car. Like
Yeah.
they're those models of SUVs and those luxury cars. It's just like, oh, that's our daily driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, I guess that's cool. But yeah, that would be the
Yeah.
Phantom. That's,
Phantom.
Yeah, that's.
well, and one last other thing.
Yeah.
Are you a big watch guy at all? Like Rolex is a goal or anything like that? Do you like?
I'm not a watch guy.
Not at all.
I'm not even really a jewelry guy. Like as a matter of fact, I'm on my like 4th wedding ring because I don't wear jewelry.
Yeah,
It's
no,
weird.
I'm married. I'm sorry, but
No ring?
I need to get used to it. I have a ring, but I just
See, my dad doesn't wear a ring either.
Yeah.
And they've been married. They just celebrated their 41st wedding anniversary, but he's never worn a ring because and I think that's kind of like like things as kids like impact you. Like he's not a jewelry guy.
Yeah.
I'm not either, but like I'm around a lot of people who I feel like it might be a good business move for me to get like a nice watch, because when I am in certain circles, that seems to be a lot of the conversations. Like, oh, did you see like this guy's got this, or whatever. So.
Well, I always wear my ring whenever I go to like events and stuff like that. So I know like, okay, when I'm going somewhere, I need to put my ring on.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting.
What does your wife think about that? I'm just curious.
She always makes a comment. She's just like,
but
it's still new.
Making the comment, you better be careful.
It's still new though. It's still new. I've only been married like 2 months now. So
it's only been 2 months.
Yeah, it's only been 2 months.
How's married life?
Married
no,
life,
I'm not the one asking the questions, but
married life is great. It's like my wife wasn't there in the beginning of my career, right? Like so
interesting.
So now it's kind of different. She sees the more established side of it, but it's still constant work. Like yesterday, I was out from 9 to 8 p.m. Like I left the house at 9 a.m.
Wow.
I didn't get back till 8 p.m. So I have such a busy week this week, like, you know, and we're actually going on our honeymoon Friday to Turks.
Oh,
Yeah, so we're pretty
all right,
excited. Yeah, we're pretty excited. But she has to, like, you know, it's important to have a partner that understands. So, you know, anyone that is in real estate, like, a lot of people ask me, like, oh, were you gonna marry someone that is in like the industry, right? That does like loans or that does sells houses. I was just like, no, for me, because then, like, even when I get home, my conversations would be all real estate. 100%. So like, I like, you know, even like people are like now, like, oh, hey, do you think your wife's gonna get a real estate license? I was like, I hope not. We only need one crazy person in this house.
Honestly, I don't know how, like, Lori and Larry, who started the Wall team, like, they're married, started the business together, and they have a phenomenal relationship and phenomenal marriage. And it's like, that's been very inspiring, because like in our industry, this is something, just to like a 2-second thing about why I even joined a team to begin with. Because a lot of people are like, why would you join a team? Because after a certain point, I was doing plenty fine on my own, right? To me, the most important thing, and for me personally, is having a healthy marriage, being there for my kids, and having a balanced life. When you're good at this job, it will consume you at all levels. There's no day off, right?
Never. So
it's like, just like you. I mean, when you're grinding the way you're grinding, I mean, how many hours a week do you work? I mean, roughly.
I mean, at least I'm thinking 60.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So most people that I know in the industry that are successful are putting in a minimum of 50 hours a week. Most of them more. When you have a team or you build a team, you get leverage. Leverage is the biggest key, because now all of a sudden you're allowing opportunity to somebody else, helping them create a future for themselves. It's also giving you time back to focus on the things that only you can focus on.
Yeah.
And so when you have staff and you have support and you have people that can help you, all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, like when I joined the Wall team, I went from doing like, I don't know, 30 deals, 35 deals on my own. I doubled, literally the next year doubled. My income, like, you know, there's different splits obviously, but like my income went up because I was in a higher price point and I was able to do more transactions because I wasn't doing the administrative work.
Well, and so, I think that's a real big key, is like a lot of times people don't realize, like, hey, you have to give up something to get more. But the thing is people focus on like the numbers and the splits too much, and you know, you can get lost in it. But like, I mean, everything that we've talked about today, like being being a giving person and like, you know, humble approaches, like I think all this is so like great, and like it's kind of like what our industry is missing, and that's kind of our goal with the podcast, is to just kind of like, hey, just remember why we do this, and, you know, kind of like bring back the real to real estate, right? And it's not always glamorous, but when it's good, it's great. And, you know, even on the bad days, we got to kind of try to remember to stay positive, you know?
Well, that's why, honestly, when you asked me to come on the podcast, like, I didn't even think twice. I was like, yes. And the main reason is because, like, who you are as a person.
Thanks.
Like, I'm so excited to see your career flourish. Like, honestly, I talk about you to other people that you don't even know I talk to you about, but like, I'm always like, I'm inspired by you, truly. Like, I think when you're around other people who you watch and are doing great things, it's like, you want to be around those people. You want to learn. I was even telling my brother coming here today, I was like, you know, he was asking me what the podcast is about, and I was like, I don't even really know. I just know that, like, it'll be an opportunity to spend an hour and with Nav, and like, I hope during that hour, like, I'll probably learn something from him that I wouldn't have learned if I was on my own. And so, like, I wish you nothing but the best on the podcast. I think you're going to kill it. You know, all this. So
no, thank you so much. And I think what the biggest thing from this is, so many people that are getting into the industry, they're gonna learn from you. You know what I mean? And like, you know, where can people keep up with you at? Like Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I haven't dove into the TikTok world yet.
He's coming. He's coming.
He's coming. I'm coming. No, Instagram, Dillon McDonald _ DFW Realtor.
Cool.
And then Dillon McDonald on Facebook, and then
Well, thank you, Dillon. We're going to have you back. From 1 year from today, we're going to have Dillon back and see where the Wall team is, where Dillon's business is, and we'll see where the podcast is, and we'll see where my team is. So we're super excited. Thank you again, Dillon. Appreciate you, man.